supposed to be on here, by the way, huh? Like
No,
this
you
was
won't.
the resolution
But
made.
अब सर मौत आनी है एक दिन as किशोर दास says.
I'm not in India.
Should people be offended? I am not either, but
I
angry
am,
people
sir.
get
Please
anywhere.
keep that in mind when you
Varun,
say things.
3 people are not watching. Okay, so I will tell you whenever we see.
Whenever 3 people are watching, we will start.
Okay. तब तक क्या ये सब बकवास करेंगे? What if all 3 of them don't come?
It'll be hilarious if the 3 people who watch it are the 3 people Chris called the 3 monkeys of the whole discussion around the film.
Which is?
The executive editor of The Caravan, the editor of News Laundry, and a screenwriter who wrote Victory.
I mean, the one
Like
person who should.
that was insane.
The one person who should be watching actually first needs to watch because he needs to tell us how this is going also. So one to should come because of that. So वो भी one नहीं है अभी तक. So I guess we don't start yet.
How have you been through? We'll just do pleasantries till then.
Pleasantries, the wrong
wrong
avenue for
podcast,
this,
wrong people
no?
also.
Yeah. One of us is invisible as usual for these. So hi Chris, how are you?
Hi, I'm
Master
good, sir.
India.
Master India. Yeah.
No, I was thinking you can put a profile picture on this. I'd put Grogu, but not the correct opportunity to do such a thing.
For Satluj.
Grogu talking about Satluj and
That wasn't not the
90s
right
One
insurgency.
person is here, Varun.
Hello,
One person.
person, if you can say hello
I think
and
it's
introduce
Shyam.
yourself. Okay, if it's Shyam, that's great, right? Like,
Right, or if it is Shyam, please tell us. We'll also say hi to you. There's no problem with that.
yeah, there's no problem. We can say hi to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And any of the
We have
protagonists
one.
from the film want to join in, like, they can also
No, sure. that
reveal
will
themselves in
happen.
the comments.
Please.
I mean, there are some
We
nice,
are-
interesting conspiracy theories floating around on the internet. So,
About?
about the character played by Suvinder Vicky actually having survived and the suicide having been
Oh.
faked to help him get away.
Okay. 3 people are here. Varun might be all 3 people
Lovely.
who you were talking about. If you are one of Sanjeet, Arjun, or Ashwin, please
Make
type-
yourselves known.
Yes, please. And Amartya, of course, who was supposed to be here, and I'm filling in for. This is a different scenario altogether.
Who's
This is the
gone-
only time you'll be seeing me on the live stream. Otherwise, I will be absent.
No, we'll get you for you're scheduled for King. Come on, you're going to watch.
Are you crazy? I will watch it, but I won't
Sir,
come for
you
an
have to
episode
watch,
on it.
sir.
Absolutely.
No, I will
you
watch.
Come
I will
watch
not.
it.
I will not
It's
come and
going to
talk
be our
about it.
year ender for this year. So
It's the most depressing thing I've ever heard.
I mean, be that as
We'll
it
be
may.
depressed
Oh,
together.
Debulina is here. Hi, Debulina. How
Hi,
are you?
Debrina. Hello.
Hi, Devilina.
It's been a long time. January is the last time we did a live stream.
We did a live stream. Yeah, it's been a while.
Arjun is
wonderful.
here.
Arjun, I don't think that's what you want to call yourself for this episode, but whatever.
Yeah, this isn't the
Whatever floats your
Odyssey.
boat.
Not
Yeah.
that Odyssey.
This is a different kind of Odyssey.
Yeah.
In that there is a river, water body at least mentioned in the title.
Acharyavar kidhar hai? I think this is. Why am I blanking on the name?
Swapnil.
Swapnil, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Acharyavar is absent, sir. That's why I am present. So,
Yeah.
and Acharyavar
Our,
is the
bearded man quota is-
Varun, 6 people are here. Chalu karo. Chalu karo jaldi.
Okay, hello. Welcome to Queen is Dead. I am Varun, with me are Dhruv and Cris. I almost said Sanjeet. We're here to talk about the Hani Trehan film that was making a lot of noise earlier this month. It's called Satluj. If you've been living under a rock, you don't know about it. But yeah, so let me just quickly step it out. It's the story of an activist called Jaswant Singh Khalra who went missing in 1995 in Punjab. He had been locating cases of people who had disappeared in the insurgency-ridden atmosphere in Punjab and tallying it with data from crematoria and municipal records. And he discovered that potentially thousands of people had vanished into thin air and been cremated on the sly by the Punjab police. And then Khalra himself disappears.
Yeah,
So,
sorry. I mean, I'll
that's the other part of the story.
briefly interject by saying our comment section and the somberness of your tone of the introduction are like
Yeah.
as opposite as they can be. What are you going for, Arjun? Please explain what this enthusiasm is for. But you seem very enthusiastic, which is
Yeah.
I appreciate a lot, because I don't have any in me. So please fill in for me sometimes.
I mean, generally.
Yeah,
Generally
very
you
true.
don't.
Okay, 1 second. I'll just go through some of the comments and then
Yeah,
we
please.
can continue. So Debulina says Satluj dropped out of nowhere and then vanished, which is, I was about to say, very reminiscent of what actually happens in the movie also in a way.
Rather poetic
Yeah.
in a sense.
I mean, in a crude way, yeah. Oh, wow. Varun, you got a compliment. Wow.
Thank you, Debelina. I don't know. It only happens when I'm speaking about serious things. Otherwise, I show up for Mission Impossible and Dhruv is holding the rest of his hair in absolute
Yeah.
misery.
I mean, Varun is prepared for this episode a lot. So, kudos
Yeah.
to him, and he should be handling this very well. If he doesn't handle this well, then I'll be mad. So,
I mean, I will out of decency handle it properly.
yeah,
because
that's
the topic is sensitive. We're not discussing Dhamal 4. Like, I would bring a different energy to that.
I
we
think
also wouldn't be
we
doing a
won't
live
bring
stream.
any energy to that, I think. And took whatever
Because Ajay
we
Devgan
had.
definitely was not.
Yeah, true. I mean, we are also, Swapnil have to inform us that me and Varun are not in India. So we are very much...
We're free from
on
the
the
censor boards, scissors
Yeah.
for the time being.
For
at
the
least.
time being, yeah. Chris, take care of yourself. But that's why he's also not revealing his identity. And neither his address or traffic or how you travel. Because I remember in one of the episodes, he's like, I take this line, I take that line, metro ki. I'm like, what are you saying? Like, come on, have some
Why are you
sense.
repeating that information now?
I didn't tell the actual line, no. You to actually said. Anyways, sorry.
Now
No-
people
no
will go back and
bakwas.
find where Chris lives. Anyway,
That's
we want to just put a disclaimer out there. It's a sensitive topic. We understand
Yeah.
that. Obviously, one is mindful of the lives lost to the insurgency
Yeah.
in Punjab. We are in no way in sort of solidarity with any acts of violence committed by extremist organizations, whichever organization that may be, the Khalistan Commando Force, the Babbar Khalsa, whoever else, or in favor of excesses committed by the state, either the paramilitary forces or the Punjab Police, which was the lead organization within the state. But this is a film that is tackling Khalistan's the after effect of a demand for Khalistan that comes up. Curiously, I think the term itself is never mentioned in the film,
Yeah.
or they stay away from it at least quite deliberately, which is one of the things that the film has gotten stuck with. In that Jaswant Singh Khalra had gone out, he had spoken about Khalistan. He has spoken favorably about Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, the preacher who took over the Akal Takht in Amritsar and was eventually killed by the Indian Army during Operation Blue Star, and spoken favorably of Indira Gandhi's assassins as well. Now, it's, I think, important to place into context the violence in the preceding decade and why a person like Khalra might believe what he did. His views may be something we disagree with. I think I can speak for all three of us. We do disagree with him on counts of Khalistan, on counts of him being favorable of Bhindranwale and Satwant and Kehar and Beyant Singh. At the same time, him being picked up and murdered, tortured and murdered is also not on. Just because somebody speaks out against state atrocities doesn't mean they deserve to become another victim of these atrocities. Nor is it fine for a person to be killed off by an organization that is acting as judge, jury, executioner without the presence of a court system or the trial or any such thing. If Khalra was an overground worker of Khalistani extremist organizations, he should have been brought before a court as per law established, and he should have been tried. So basically, the bottom line is people shouldn't disappear out of thin air. And it has unfortunately been a common occurrence in places where India has had insurgency. It's happened in Kashmir, it's happened in Punjab, it's happened in the Northeast, and it's not anti-national to say any of these things. The state can commit crimes, the state can commit offences as well, and it is also the responsibility of the state to make up for those offences in whatever way it can, by trying the guilty parties, by punishing them. The Supreme Court has passed in 1996 an order that limits the use of sort of aggressive interrogation techniques, which would lead eventually to the shuttering of many detention centers in Kashmir at the time. So we understand the subject is quite complicated. The film decidedly is not, I think.
Less so.
In that it wants
And-
to
Sorry, go ahead, Varun. Complete your thought, then I'll.
it just wants to cover so many bases. So it's looking at the police hierarchy itself. It is looking at individuals within the police. It's looking at Khalra and his organization. It's looking at the CBI, which comes in as a quote-unquote impartial party. This is back when the CBI still had a positive reputation as an investigative agency. Just a couple of years hence, they would crack one of the biggest sort of betting scandals in the world and become like the toast of town. And slowly and steadily, that reputation, I think, has unraveled in the public's eyes. So yeah, sorry, Dhruv, go ahead.
No, I'm just flagging up a couple of comments. I mean, I
Yes.
won't flag up Arjun's right now. Sorry, Arjun, because I don't want to like you to bring that here. But Swapnil has said, and I'll flag the fact that he said this also. Not so fun fact. That while watching the film, he was reminded of police brutality and fake encounters by Kolkata police during Naxal era, and then I was reminded of Siddharth Shankar Ray, Punjab governor in the 80s.
Yeah. Siddharth Shankar Ray, I think, was chief minister of Bengal just before Jyoti Basu became chief minister, and Jyoti Basu was chief minister for a very long time after. Siddharth Shankar Ray was again part of sort of Indira Gandhi's internal sort of inner circle in a way, and those are all things that are in the film's past. So if you have some context to the film, I think it's very valuable because it helps you build a more complete picture of the film and of its events.
But I think this is interesting, Varun. I'm just going to interject and say, because this also informs the very different places from which we all are viewing the film. You are watching it after having dug up even more than you already know, right? So you were very much.
I mean, Punjab
getting
insurgency
into.
is not my beat. It's not something I take an academic interest in.
Yeah.
Kashmir and the Northeast are far more my sort of, because largely because those are places where they were not necessarily a part of the state we inherited in 1947. But I think what you're saying is right. It's also how films then get watched and what kind of audience Satluj is eventually made for, which is why the controversy is kind of it's panned out the way it has, because if you don't know too much about it, people will go in thinking Khalra is just another bank manager, regular bank employee who disappears, and he was some sort of messiah or something. And for some people he may well have been that, but he was also associated with the Akali Dal. He was it
complicated
does
man,
those things.
right? Everyone
everyone is complicated, and
and everyone can be simplified also in film form, of course.
Oh, definitely. And it's sort of the flaw of our cinema in many ways, and of Western cinema, is that it looks at, I'm talking about mainstream cinemas. So Hindi cinema is to India what Hollywood cinema is to the West, because India contains so many regional industries within it. So the voices can be effectively, you can have our own sort of European cinema in some part of the country, or some elements can make up like a European cinema. Small parallel industry can be like a British cinema, and then you've got Hindi, which is very Hollywoodish in many ways.
True. And again, I will interrupt you, Arun, and this is not.
No, wait.
I don't know how much to. We will not be talking about it, Raja, and I think we won't be discussing in this live stream. Definitely not, because it very much contrasts with the sort of seriousness, I guess, of the topic at hand. We don't have very serious thoughts on the Ramayan trailer. If you want,
also it's a trailer. Like we've never
we
really
generally
gotten
don't
into. We've done it. We've done it a couple of times as a joke.
As in, we've not done it exclusively.
No,
on it, right?
we've not.
So,
and I'll just elaborate a little bit, Raja, if that's your name. It's that we want to, I suppose, in some ways, some of us want to give the film a fair chance of actually coming out, and those that will watch it will talk about it. We are hopeful of organizing a similar stream at that point. and people will come in and talk about it. We're also mindful of the fact that it is religious in many ways, so it is a sensitive topic. There are some people who are outraged by it at the moment. There are some people who love the fact that something they're so attached to emotionally is getting a sort of lavish multi-hundred crore treatment for the big screen.
Absolutely.
I mean, but we'll talk about that when the time comes.
And if you want like a very pithy thing, I think one of us or some of us can do it on Instagram. I'm pretty sure, and I can say that unanimously we are not enthusiastic about the trailer, and then we can just move on to Satluj. As a general thing, and ignore this right now. We'll come to it whenever the film comes out. We are discussing it on live stream. So
in 3 months' time. So please be here then.
Yes, that time we have the license to do whatever we want.
Yeah, because we'll have seen the film and we'll be able to. People will also be able to relate it to their own experience of the Ramayana at that point.
Exactly. And okay, so that's hopefully that's answered your question, Raja, if that's your name, of course. And Debulina has said these things. Yes, I mean, but Debulina, I don't think that's a necessity for people to be clean in general.
Debulina, it's also important to understand what clean means, I suppose, because first of all, people are complex and people contain multitudes and all that stuff. It's also very important to understand the space within which Khalra had those opinions. Would he have had those opinions pre the unrest? Or are they a consequence of the unrest?
In the film, Punjab it's framed as a sort of consequence of the one personal experience he sees. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's. I think he was a complicated individual, but I think the film also talks about very briefly talks about another complicated individual, KPS Gill. KPS Gill, of course, called the Paramount Cop, was from the Assam cadre of the IPS. He had served practically his entire police career there until he was brought to Punjab in 1984. And in, I think, the late 80s, he became the DGP of Punjab. The first sort of major success he had was Operation Black Thunder 2, which was the clearing out of insurgents or terrorists from within the precincts of Harmandir Sahib for a second time. That was a much cleaner operation than Blue Star, for instance, in which the army sort of went in not prepared, not knowing what it was expected to do, and with various sort of complications to it as well. And KPS Gill is largely credited with having killed off the insurgency in Punjab, and that is his rightful credit. What cannot be denied is he is responsible for people having disappeared. As the professional head of Punjab Police, as the operational head of Punjab Police, the buck stopped at him. What also cannot be denied is that he was a sex offender. So these are complications and he had contempt for the courts when they convicted him of sexual harassment. He said the courts only believe the facts that are placed before them, which is exactly how the justice system works. So I don't know what Gill was complaining about. And I think that also tells you something about the man. If he had so much contempt for the justice system, for the legal justice system, you can imagine that he was a man who would believe that extrajudicial killings are completely fine. And so it's that multitude of sort of many different things that come about in how you perceive a person. And I think Gill was complicated, Khalra was complicated. I think one of the most significant figures of the early insurgency in Punjab was also a very complicated man, Major General Shabeg Singh, Mahavir Chakra. He was an Indian war hero. He had fought in the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971. He was cashiered from service on cooked up pretexts, and he went and joined the Khalistanis. So how do you understand that sort of spectrum of human behavior? Man who has served his country rightfully and absolutely in the spirit of soldiering for 25-30 years, then goes and joins a terror group. So it's those things that are for us as viewers to wrestle with. I think the film doesn't wrestle with those things necessarily.
And I think it's also, I mean, I know Varun's context has been extremely valuable, and I think it's again painting a point of view of how he also enters the film, of course. I also have to say that I have zero knowledge, so I entered essentially as a newcomer.
This is a film.
So for me, and again, for me, it's always going to be, and I've made this clear in our recent episode also, if people want to listen to the to that, which is about Bollywood actually 2026, or the films that have come and tried to tackle history and have very good intentions, I think, which is what intentionality for me has. We don't give out marks that much for intentionality.
Chris
lot of
does,
it
you and
will-
I don't. Chris
Yeah.
does.
I suppose.
I do to
Huh.
a certain extent, not
Yeah, yeah.
entirely so.
Yeah.
But it is
Huh.
something that factors into how I feel about a film.
Yeah,
for sure.
and I'm largely my whole thing is to not do with intentionality and focus on execution, because that's my way of justifying how I can at least talk about certain films with very different ideologies. To me, the why becomes becomes a factor I can use as a thing for all films, which I find that's my way of course, processing it, which is not necessarily everyone else's, but I'm just making it very clear here. And Chris, I don't know how much context you had before.
No,
watching
so
it,
I
but
also had very little context. Punjab's history is something that I know absolutely like less than nothing about. So I also went into it pretty blind, and I read up on it decently after the fact, because one of my points on the film is the fact that you can tell that there is definitely something missing here, and
Okay.
I again on the intentionality question, I personally did not find that the intention there was any kind of malintention or uneasiness with the intentionality of the filmmaking.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that Rehan as a director believes in what he's saying and wants to say it for a well-intentioned, in my opinion, reason. This is not like when we were talking about Main Wapas Aunga, for example, that Imtiaz Ali film, where I was like, I cannot tell, or I'm not super sure of Imtiaz's intentions with this, and I don't trust them. That's not the case here,
Yeah.
but you can very much tell, and there's a persistent feeling that there is a flattening here, if that is purposeful for political reasons or purposeful for cinematic reasons is a question that I don't have an answer to. But that flattening is very obvious, and that is what made me kind of want to read. And the more I read, the more it changed how I felt about the film,
Sure.
because it started sort of creating a distinct gap between what the film looks like and what the film says and what the film does.
Okay, I have a question, and if, of course, please, to Chris only, and then answer that, and then I think we can dive into a sort of proper what the film was like actually for all of us. We've kind of
Yeah.
hinted at it, but not sort of in a sort of clear way. But uh, after reading it, though, Chris, I wanted to ask how much do you want there to be a matching of that, that when you said when you read it and you found more distance and more gaps, how much
Yeah.
do you want it to be sort of one to one? How much do you want it to sort of adhere to reality is my sort of question to you, I guess.
That's not my point at all. Like,
Okay.
adherence to reality is secondary. I think for
Sure.
me, the idea is much more that the formal and the narrative should have a congruence between them.
Okay.
Because for me, the problem is that the film uh, uh, represents or is aesthetically presenting itself as a nuanced docudrama that goes into the reality of the matter, while the
Yeah.
narrative itself is quite flat, and that I think sends the wrong impression. So either I would want a more heightened formalism, which
Yeah.
matches the flatness of or the kind of lack of nuance of this
The
narrative.
sort of melodramatics of the material
Yeah,
almost.
so
Like
the,
of
the
what
dramatics
the
of the
film is, sorry. Yeah.
yeah, so the dramatics of the narrative should match the dramatics of the form,
Yeah.
or the presentation of nuance should match the presentation of nuance of the narrative itself. So
Sure.
I'm talking about a congruence between what is shown and what is said, not necessarily that
It
X
needs
or
to
Y
match
has
to
to
reality.
adhere
Yeah.
to
Sure.
reality in a certain sense. Because I don't
It
think
should.
that is because it's not a documentary. It is not
Yes.
positing. It is at the end of the day a narrative feature.
Yeah, I'll just
And
slightly addendum that and say that even documentaries are films. So
no,
there is no.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Fiction
No,
features, we can call them
yeah,
that,
that's
or
the
yes,
difference here, right?
dramatizations. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, a non-fiction feature, at least, I mean, obviously not to any, what do you call, legal standard or moral standard, but a general conventional standard has certain requirements or certain expectations of truthfulness, adherence to reality, etc., etc., that we
yeah,
generally ethically expect from the medium.
And the
a
point of
general
view is
expectation.
more, the editorial slant in a documentary is always more clear in that
Yes,
this
Yeah,
is
it's
more
the
open. Yeah,
belief.
unless
Yeah.
you're
more
some
open
films
and
which yeah.
yeah, and it's supposed to be disclosed. That disclosure is generally considered like an ethical practice in
Yeah.
documentary filmmaking. On the other hand, when you're making a narrative feature, those expectations are a fictional narrative feature. Those expectations are different, and so
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is the presentation of the of the material itself that defines how it is read. And to
Yeah.
me, the film is misleading in its formal capability of its sort of formal presentation as to how it is to be read, and what
Sure.
is saying is there's a discrepancy there that to me becomes an issue.
Can I just now? I'm not summarizing it, but I'm asking if this is a sort of summation in some ways of what you were saying, in the sense that uh, it's promoting a sort of feeling of realism when it actually itself can't adhere to it. Is that fine?
Yeah, sure. I think it wants you to think that it is a serious docudrama, but it is not
Sure.
delivering a serious docudrama. It
Fair.
is
Okay.
delivering very it is in the guise or in the aesthetics or adornments of a docudrama, it is still presenting very classical Bollywood dramatics, which is not
Sure.
the kind of text I would expect or I think should be when you are presenting something as a docudrama.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
that
you
becomes an
could.
ethical issue,
Sure.
that
I mean,
gap
you could
between those two
say
things.
that the classical, I mean, Shakespearean drama, which is Heather, and some people have drawn a comparison, which you guys can talk about if you want to.
Yeah.
Uh, Heather's quote unquote villain, I would say, has more shades than the villains here in many ways. I would say, like, not the main. There's one villain here who has shades. I mean the big baddies of it all. So the what Chris you're saying about the sort of classical Bollywoodism in a sense of hero and villain. There's a very
Yeah.
clear line drawn here, right? I think is what you're
Yeah.
No,
getting
wait.
at.
So who would you classify as the complex hero here and the
There's no
straightforward big
complex
baddie?
hero. Big
Sorry,
baddie is
complex
Who's the
villain
the
over here.
complex villain?
complex villain
Who's
is
the
Suvinder Vicky.
is Suvinder Vicky
Complex.
playing SS Sagu? Okay,
Yeah, I
and
mean
the
the closest it comes to complex. I mean,
okay, and
yeah,
the
he's
straightforward villainy comes from what? Kamaljit.
Kavaljit. Yeah, Kavaljit.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Why don't you go?
think
Yeah.
what Heather is permitted by just the dint of being fiction is it's at liberty in
Yeah.
many ways, right? To express itself the way it wants. And of course, I think Satluj borrows from it, like spoilers for Satluj, by the way, everyone. The film, I mean, you can't really give spoilers for a film like this, but
It's
there are
produced by Abhishek
obviously
Chaubey. There's a sort of
Hani
link
Trehan,
with
Hani Trehan has assisted Vishal Bhardwaj as
Vishal
well. So
Bhardwaj.
they're both his assistants. In fact, you would have heard the little rag or that little hum
Yes.
at
Yeah.
McGuffin
Beginning.
Pictures.
Yeah.
That's
That's
Vishal.
Vishal Bhard. Yeah, yeah.
But there's almost a Rudar bit over here, or a
Yeah.
bit from, if you think back to Heather, when after Bismil, Shahid is sleeping and Tabu is sitting by his bedside and she's fallen asleep, and Narendra Jha and Irfan come in the middle of the night. So it's got that kind of moment as
Ghostly
well.
presence and all
Huh.
that sort of. Yeah.
But I think what Heather also had like moments of dishonesty, like the one mention of Pandits is almost like supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek one in a way. I got the point Vishal was trying to make, but I don't think that moment worked in the film.
Sure.
And it also has like it commits those errors of, hey, straightforward villainy.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing with Muhammad Ali Shah at the beginning of the film, he's the commander of the cordon
Yeah.
search operation.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're trying to make him out to be this villain when Narendra Jha is harboring a terrorist inside his house. So
Yeah.
that whole thing
No,
is
I
kind
think
of
I meant more in the sense of KK Menon's character.
No,
having
no.
more
Yeah,
shades.
so
yeah.
I think also because that's just Hamlet, right? Like, so
Hamlet,
it's
yeah,
much
of course.
more
So that's
to
the
Shakespeare's
whole line.
credit,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
No, it's also
Vishal
like
being
there's
able
this
to co-opt that.
there's the kind of the layers of suspension of disbelief or fictionality on in Heather, right?
Yeah.
Fundamentally, one, it is a Shakespearean play. It is an adaptation of a Shakespearean play inside Bollywood, and on top of that, it is setting up a fictional drama inside this real setting. You have your expectations, that's what I'm saying, it's about genre expectations, right? Your expectations are different. And Vishal Bharadwaj also plays it at a melodramatic level. You have your comedic bits, you have your
Oh yeah,
good
the
and bad,
Salmans.
and your
Salman's, yeah.
Salman. So the black and white of the good and evil makes sense within the aesthetic medium in which the film operates. I
Yeah.
think that
I mean, it's got
that
song
the
sequences, everything, like proper. Yeah.
everything here, the
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
the absolute flat good versus absolute unnuanced flat evil, and the inability to deal with complexity and messiness and multitudes that these individuals as human beings possess is, again, like I said, incongruent with the aesthetic mode in which it operates, which gives the impression, especially with the cross-cutting and the sprawling narrative and this and that, which presents as if it is a deeply nuanced tale. I think that is, to me, the problem that I keep coming back to with the film.
Sure.
And if I may just add something, it's because I was thinking about this film before we decided on the live stream. I was thinking back to how Dhurandhar presents Ranveer Singh's character, and that is the film's only bit of complication.
Sure.
In that character resides the film's entire ability for complexity. In Satluj, sadly, which is going for a much more muted register, but which suits complexity much more, the straightforwardness of the hero figure is what is difficult to buy into.
Sure.
You know, because you're trying to tap into, in some minor way, Saggu, for instance, the character Surinder Vicky plays. Sorry, Sugga. I don't know why I said Saggu.
Sugga, yeah.
Sugga, you're trying to tap into this sort of man who's been suspended, brought back by this, all-powerful police officer, transforms into this happy-go-lucky hunter of people for funsies in a way. But also a man who's doing it only because he wants to be upwardly mobile in his own organization.
Yeah.
I don't think the film goes as far with making him complex either.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's not a hero-villain confrontation film
Of
at
course. It's Satluj. It's not like a individual based thing. It's
No.
the 360 thing, right? It's a
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of as much as you can get from the incident that happened, which is
Yep.
sorry. Just before we proceed, I think Arjun has a point which we can dwell on, and then we can go ahead. So he says there is an unmistakable sense of conviction and honesty in the approach to the material in Satluj. It's not all painted in broad strokes. There's a nuance in it. Arjun, please elaborate on what particular stuff that you think has that, because I only felt it in very small patches. I thought
I
it
can
was a
feel
little
the conviction, but Arjun,
Huh.
we also gave this when Amartya and Cris and I did the stream on Dhurandhar. We said Dhar is also convinced of the righteousness of his material. So it doesn't really sort of, a filmmaker having that conviction is great, especially if we are responding then as you guys are to this film vis-a-vis Main Wapas Aaunga.
Yeah.
It's also about whether, I don't think the style of Dhurandhar allows for complexity.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right, but the style of a Satluj does, and that is
Does.
where it is demanded, because it is effectively an intellectual exercise as well. It is not
Yeah.
merely an exercise of brawn or entertainment, or however you want to pitch
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
Dhurandhar
sorry, I just
pitches
wanted
itself
to-
very much as entertainment.
Because I wanted to ask you guys. I mean, of course, we don't know. I've not read up. Again, I was a last minute addition to this, so I apologize for any sort of context, any little bit context.
I'm here
also I
to
have on
cover up,
this.
don't worry.
Sure. Okay. So my thing was that. So this was made like 4 years back, right?
Yeah,
And of course, we
2022.
don't know where it was intended to be screened. I mean, you said Mami was the target audience, which automatically sort of puts it into a
I
slight.
mean, Toronto, I think it played at as well.
So intellectual bracket is sort of
Yeah.
also covered within it. It's not a sort of going for the. Then I think there is a severe limitation in the way it sort of proceeds through its narrative. I think it's caught in that crossroads between the mainstream and the sort of like, again, I would say, and I don't want to see, there are the movie is very honorable. There's a lot of good things. I think most of the things that are good about it have been already said, and a lot of them we will briefly cover. But I think a lot of us have some grievances with the way it actually shows this. But of course, counters, if you have, please throw them,
Yeah,
tell us if we.
I mean, we're very happy to engage with people who counter us, except those that abuse us. Then because
Yeah, that's
we
exactly.
can't necessarily
I mean,
respond in
mostly it's in-house right now,
that
so I
same
think
register.
people will just abuse us in
Yeah.
a sort of funny way. But no, I think if it is intended as a sort of festival film, and if it's intended as something which potentially has a sort of streaming, which I mean, it ended up on streaming. I don't know if he intended it to make it for
No,
streaming.
it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a theatrical release. It was
Release.
supposed to be proper,
Sure.
Yeah.
So, again, I think it's that being caught in that struggle of wanting to make something which is accessible, and I think one of the advantages of this form of making is that it is accessible and it's been, appreciated by a lot of what you call quote unquote normies. I think, right? I mean, your cinephilia also, I think it's been appreciated all over the place, and it's understandable why. Especially for people, I think, who see cinema as a means of expression of sort of political resistance, as a means in which the ideologies they possess, they want it to be sort of reciprocated through film. There is such little room for it, especially the left in Bollywood, that I think this idea of this is fairly staunchly anti-police, even though I think it sort of kind of niggles its way a little bit.
It's anti-establishment excesses. I think that's the correct way to pitch it at, right?
But I think
anti-police brutality, it's extrajudicial violence,
which I think is also turned out to be very timely in this sense also, of course.
Yeah, like plainclothes people coming and picking him up, and we saw people at Jantar Mantar in plainclothes as well. We're not trying to draw that. This is just something I picked up during the film, that hey, it's similar to some circumstances, but I think that just speaks to the sort of absolute decline in policing standards across India. It's not a special link between the film and our current day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, right after the setting of this film come like a spate of gangland dramas from
Mirzapur
Eastern
and all
UP.
that
Not Mirzapur, I'm talking Gangajal, I'm talking Shul, back then, early 2000s. So you could already see the
sorry for mentioning Mirzapur.
Cinema we would get into eventually.
Yeah. I think
the intellectual the intellectual bit that you were talking about is interesting, because the film positions Jaswant as a martyr. Now, my understanding of the term martyr has always been that you associate it either with a community or usually with a community. So you could, and usually it tends to be a religious term. So, like, people can still get away with calling someone like Bhagat Singh a martyr because his community would be India.
Yeah.
And, it would be, you could reach for that. But over here, I felt super sort of put out by its use of martyr. Like, it uses that in the end credits as well. It's Diljit Dosanjh as martyr Jaswant Singh.
In the way it's positioned in the film, he does.
I mean, he's a saint.
Tag. He is a saint.
He is a saint and all that. But it does that. Then it does ye kaum ki baat hai. Then Trehan is coming out and saying, but he's just a human rights activist. So, there is so much of a disagreement almost with what the film is saying versus what the maker is saying in some spaces, that I'm like, okay, you don't want to own the fact, and Trehan doesn't want to own the fact that Khalra was associated with the Akali Dal, which is fine. I mean, if I had ever been a member of the Akali Dal and somebody tried to make a biopic on me, I would also say, please don't ever say I was in the Akali Dal. That would be damn embarrassing. But I think that is in some ways dishonest then, right? Like, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're positioning your film as something which is more nuanced,
as politically
then it is
enlightened,
dishonest.
yes.
I would say something like you mentioned this, which is why I have to bring this stupid movie's name up again. Yeah. So I'm like, usme, like, if you position him as whatever one type of person, I won't be saying anything, because the whole idea is deification. Here the idea is, what is the idea? Is it humanizing or saintification, whatever you want to say? That's the sort of struggle, I think, of the film with the central character, at least, in the sense that is he a symbol or is he a human?
Yeah.
And what role does he play in this? If he's a human, the actions recounted in that feel very saintly in the film.
Yeah, like
No.
its use of terms is what baffled me in that sense, right?
Hmm.
Because you're talking about when you talk about com, then he says at one point एक com का मजाक बनाया गया है. I mean the film is confused. It's saying the police is doing what it's doing out of greed for promotion and this, that and the other. But then it is also suggesting there's a communal hue to it, which
Yeah.
I can understand in the context of a Delhi 1984 anti-Sikh pogrom film. Over here, the cops are also Sikhs. The victims are also majoritively Sikhs. You could then, and mind you, the film is not wrestling with the idea of anti-Khalistan Sikhs.
Yes.
Because Khalistan never comes up in the film. So there is a
Yeah.
lot of complexity that ends up becoming confusion instead.
Because I think
over
in the
here.
beginning narration only, I think Arjun Rampal's narration basically sets the film up as a sort of, there were these different sides, but this is also about this one side in which the police took over the state and they sort of committed this.
I mean, it was a police
sort
state,
of-
right? So
Yeah, it was, but I think he also, as the narrator who comes in
Yeah.
later in the film and is supposed to recontextualize and contextualize it for the audience who doesn't know it, he also is sort of skimping around the fact of the term. He doesn't say the name of the organization or whatever, so there is, which is fine. Like again, that's not a
No,
responsibility
I
to the
think
film.
it's yeah, I think it's also representative of the kind of audience that the film has appealed to, right? And this is, you can say the observation is anecdotal, that's fine, but from what I have seen, especially in online discourse, which obviously filters the population already, it
Yeah.
is with the kind of public or like people who posit themselves as intellectuals who generally don't tend to like Bollywood, but still,
yeah.
in a sense, enjoy the heightened emotionality, right? They
Okay.
have a problem more with the aesthetics of excess than with
Sure.
the narrative emotional flatness. They are more
Sure.
interested in the aesthetics of nuance than the act, which is again the disagreement that you and I have had with a lot of people with a film like मैं वापस आऊंगा, right? Because
Yeah.
there are places again with say मैं वापस आऊंगा with the documentary footage and such, it posits itself to be more nuanced than it actually is, and people have fallen for that pretense of nuance because that is what they care, the sort of intellectual crowd cares for more, and I think that is the discrepancy within the film
Okay,
itself.
sure. Just you please circulate this on Twitter amongst your group. Sorry,
No, but
but
no, but that's, I feel like that's the gap of the film as well, right? I think
yeah,
Trehan is so wed to a certain, like again the VB kind of heightened emotionality, like to me there's two, and spoilers, two moments towards the end of the film that the film
yeah.
that have been talked about as the two memorable images that to me kind of really threw me out because I'm like, this doesn't work in a docudrama. One is
What the
obviously
spirit one,
the spirit moment, and the
which is
second is the one, the final
absolutely ill placed in my opinion.
I
ill
mean, the whole
Like
placed.
it feels
Kuljit palatable thing is only misplaced, I think.
okay,
Yeah,
fine.
and the final shot or one of the final shots of Khalra being thrown into the water
The
in
water.
slow motion
Yeah.
as
When he
he's
falls into the Satluj,
recorded.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so
okay,
and those are very classical Bollywood dramatics that you would expect out of a
That's also
melodrama.
a Heather
And
bit, by the way.
yeah,
I mean,
it
it
yeah,
is.
that's
happened
also
in
a hit.
reality, of course, with Khalra, but
Yeah, but no, it's again, it's
No,
about
no, but it's the
framing at the end of the
dramatization
day,
of it.
right?
ना उसे थोड़ी ना
It's the
कि it's like a
dramatization. There's
yeah,
a
हाँ वो
difference between,
टोन एक
even
तरीका होता
earlier
है
in
फिल्म
the,
बनाने
of
yeah,
course,
earlier in the film where you see like a distant shot of the bridge and just the sound of the body
yeah,
falling into the water versus this very slow, this thing of his body being mutilated and then dramatically being lowered into the water. I think
yeah,
those present that problem of the fact that Trehan is making a quote unquote festival film or this kind of prestigious
yeah,
looking docudrama,
yeah,
while on the other hand he's too wed, or his language of cinema is this heightened melodramatic FVV coded kind of
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, to
antics or dramatics. So that dissonance is, I think, both you can see in the response to the film and how it's constructed itself. Yeah.
I mean, I also want to just say this about the whole Khalistan thing. The film never brings it up. It presents Khalra as this sort of unbiased, non-partisan figure. It's that to make a film of this kind, you kind of need permission from religious authorities in Punjab.
Of course,
I have a major problem. As much as a problem I have with censorship, I have a problem with that you need to seek permission Years ago, Nikhil Advani was trying to make a film about Operation Blue Star, and the SGPC very clearly told him that this is not going to happen while we are still around.
Okay.
Alright, so I think when anybody has that kind of writ running through a place, it means that you're going to do your utmost to not offend them.
Yeah.
And the film is somewhere not willing to, take that step which might offend Khalistanis. Now, for me, it's easy to say, right? Because my political convictions, while they are my own and they're out there, are not going to impact anybody.
Yeah.
I am anti-secessionism because I believe India is a union of states and all that, whatever you want to call it, all that jazz, for lack of a better term. And so, to me, secessionist organizations will always be somewhat villainous, just as the state in this film is, even to my view. But if you're saying my film is about this man and it is about speaking the truth of this man, then I don't think you can afford to be like, play hard and fast with how you want to deal with the truth.
So I think this actually, weirdly enough, and we've talked about, I mean, Cris has especially talked about how much sort of a Bollywood strain is there running through Satluj, and I think which I think is to the detriment in this film. I don't mean Bollywoodism is a detriment, by the way, just to make it very clear. Also,
no, there are enough subdued films also coming out of.
I mean, I was about to, one of the films I was about to cite, the only film which is about a quote unquote martyr, which I've seen at least, I mean, to some extent, I would say even Sardar Udham has a slightly more complicated view of it. But I would say the one film which really does at least hone in on the personal cost of all this is Shahid by Hansal Mehta. And Hansal Mehta's grammar is much more a sort of, when he's doing festival, he does only festival. He sort of dials down most of his Bollywoodisms, which he can also show in other films. But for instance, you can compare the sort of deaths of these people also in these films and see how sort of differently they are treated and how it sort of goes about it. So I think that I was mentioning it. Of course, I have more highbrow references, I told you, which I will make just because in terms of dissident cinema, if this is considered as sort of dissident cinema, I guess I've just been spoiled then because I've seen Jafar Panahi's work. Yeah. Honestly, I think I have been spoiled because there is a fundamental, if that man can make a film in which rebellion is as complicated as it looks for him, who is doing it by his own self, then I have an issue with a dissident cinema which is reducing a person to a symbol. And I think
this is agreeable almost in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just this whole idea of Bollywood wanting symbols. I'm like, just go. People can be complicated and still be inspirational. Why is that a problem?
I mean, but that's the whole thing. I feel like somewhere they cannot. You brought up Sardar Udham. I have the completely opposite view.
Sure.
Of it. I think we've spoken about it as well. Sardar Udham had lived in, Udham Singh had lived in, I think, the Americas for some time in the 1920s. It is likely, let me just complete. It is likely he fathered a child there and then abandoned, he was involved with a Latina woman. He abandoned them. He came back to India. He got imprisoned. Then subsequently he went to England. And even within the film, right, Shujit deciding to, I think, and I was gravely offended by that moment in the film, depict Bhagat Singh as a practicing Sikh on the day of his hanging is absolutely over the line. It's egregious. He's one of the great atheist figures in this country. We have so few in India. Let us have him at least, a man who completely disavowed his faith, whose most famous essay explains why he is an atheist. I think that dishonesty runs through most of the films any mainstream industry tries to make.
Fair.
I just don't think then it's fair to position yourself as some kind of person who's speaking the truths, especially when Trehan goes out later and admits to not to having flattened the character. I'm like,
that's true. I think that's the problem more than anything else. And I think cinemas or like people who want to be... I mean, I don't want to blame Trehan here. He's done... Like, the decision to make a film on this matter is admirable. And I think there are lots of pieces here that do work. Like, I have
yes, absolutely.
Reinstating this. I know we
do like the film. We do like the film.
Now we have... Yeah.
Broadly.
But That's what I think I began by saying, that we like the film, but a lot of the things we like have been talked about, but we'll slightly touch upon them.
And it's important to wrestle with what we don't like as well, right? Because the
Yeah, of
film is
course.
almost universally praised in the kind of political hues
Yeah.
we put out in the world.
Yeah. No, so I think this whole, I think with Sardar Udham, what I was meaning was not a sort of altering or disaltering. I think it was, and this film has this in patches, which is what I was hoping the rest, I think the beginning has it, and I was hoping the rest of the film carries with it that mundane mournfulness, if that's the correct way to put it. Like, it creates mournfulness out of the mundane in some senses.
Yeah.
The first sequence, I think, if you cut out the sequence where we are seeing the people get shot and we are just following the two constables, two officers talking
Two
about
police officers,
promotions,
yeah.
about promotions and everything,
Yeah.
and then everything else going around them. It's a very zone of interesty idea I'm suggesting here, but in that context. But within
Yeah.
that context, if the film works as a sort of this idea that Punjab itself, and which is of course the one of the better things about the film is that it feels like it's set there, which is the other thing we had
Yeah.
an issue with. Main wapas aunga. Like I was like, what is this nondescript place? Like so woozy and so like all this stuff. Anyways, like in this, I think there's and of course Urta Punjab comes a little bit to my mind because Abhishek Chaubey is also involved in
Chaubey,
this. He's the producer, but. That mournfulness, I think, is very valuable, especially in a film about people or human activists also seeking people who have been essentially denied an identity. Or,
Yeah.
right.
Denied their
And that-
personhood, right? Not even their identity.
exactly.
Just the dignity of a human being no longer exists for them.
Exactly. And I think that sadness is there, I think, throughout lots of the film. I think it gets more and more buried. The film slightly like becomes a sort of incident. And I think when I was watching the first half of it, I was like, this needs to be its own film almost. One film needs to be entirely up until the point where Khalra gets taken, and the next film needs to have an entirety of its own, which is about an investigation of him. Because
No,
there are
I
so
think
many
it's-
sections that feel truncated here to me, at least.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think you see, especially that nuance for me, or wherever it's like dramatics and these things work, are the what gets Khalra there, right? Like the whole relationship of the aunt or the friend's mother, and that
Yes.
where
Yeah.
it's
Oh, that was
where
a
the
very
grief is
effective scene.
personal.
Yeah.
It's very effective. But after a point, the personal is abandoned for the political. It's not that the personal is carried through as the motivation that enables one to act politically, because one experiences the grief and empathizes with another's grief. Like you said, because Khalra is flattened so much, the grief is experienced, it becomes a motivation, and then it's entirely kind of glossed over, and then he becomes from a personally aggrieved figure to a politically charged figure, and
And there's no
connection between the two.
moment in which I get when he's become that. I think they try
I
to
mean,
sell
I
this
don't
moment-
think he's politically charged also. I think he's just charged.
charged.
That-
Okay.
yeah, blank charged. Like
There
you
is that-
decide how he's
There
going
is
to be
a
charged.
one very odd moment which was intended as like a rousing moment, right? And like a
Yeah.
really high point sort of, and it totally fell flat for me is when one of the people sitting in like one of the family members says that an old mother I think says that मैं
Get
चलूँ
out.
तुम्हारे साथ
No.
after
Oh,
that
the later,
मैं
right.
चलूँ हाँ, which is supposed to be this whole thing where
Yeah,
it
I'll
starts.
come with you.
So I'm like, I'll come with you wherever you go, sort of like that. And the camera like does that slight push in towards his face, which is supposed to be this, oh my god, revelatory moment. And I was like, totally not the
That's
glamour
also
of this film.
it's happening
Doesn't
so
work.
quickly, right?
Quickly.
One moment
Yeah.
a lady doesn't believe him, the next moment everybody is willing to go with
वही
him.
तो कह रहा हूँ, it's truncated in a
Diljit's
sort of.
performance to me is
Yeah.
again very bland, nondescript. There's no personality to the
I think
man.
I think his performance is better suited if the film treated him entirely as a human only. I think
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
performance works better that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
So if he's going to be a saint, then I don't. Then I almost view him as Christ, right?
Yes.
That he's taking this suffering for other people.
Yeah.
I think Jaswant Khalra's bravery in facing down the Punjab police when he was taken captive by them,
Yeah.
his bravery lay in the fact that he was human. He knew he could
Yeah.
die,
Yeah.
right? And again, I keep going back to this with all biopics that you just humanize these people. I had the this same problem I had with a film like Shersha, which was, I was like, a 24-year-old boy. Get with that reality rather than being like, oh, he was destined for great things from because he
Yeah, it's
could
that
stand up to
great
the
man.
schoolyard bullies or whatever. I'm like, no,
Yeah, it's that
you know,
great man messianic figure, right? Like we
Yeah.
want people who we think as good people to be unnuanced, capital G good again, which is the
Yeah.
Christ-like good.
yeah, the
And
guy
it
There
from
is
can
school
that.
it can
monitor, whatever,
yeah,
class
you
monitor.
cannot have had one flaw,
Yeah.
one bad thought, one bad day in your life. It has
There's
had to
that
be you have been the most moral upstanding figure for the entire duration that you're shown.
Yeah, sorry, just one, and this is another
Hmm.
moment where I was like, yes, contend with this. That's a great dilemma. Gitika Vidya
Vidya
Ohalan,
Ulyan's
who's very good in I think whatever I've seen her in.
everything,
She's
yeah.
very good in Ikkis. I was about to say Assi. She's good
Acha.
Assi.
She also in
Thappad mein
Thappad.
she
Yeah.
is, yeah. But she has the moment where she's like, जो दूसरों के लिए लड़ेंगे उनके अपनों का क्या, like what happens to us because you are going
Yeah.
to fight, what about that personal thing? No, nothing. The film just then goes sure
Yeah.
and just forgets it. I'm like, why? But that's a big loss. That's a big, and that's what Shahid does cover, the idea that his activism destroys his marriage essentially. And this is also there in customary Terence Malick reference, a movie of his which I don't really care for, also A Hidden Life, which is also doing a slight
About a
thing of
conscientious
making
subject, yeah.
yeah, but it kind of paints him like a Christ-like figure. But even in that, there is this fear reckoning with this idea of death and in his consequence, of course, realizing that maybe what I'm doing is not even right, and but I think I'm doing this right, so I'm going to do it. But I mean, the only thing I remember about that film mostly is this idea of the final shots of that man being, because in this it's so dramatically different, because it's treated as this almost messianic moment, right? The way he falls into the water and slow motion and
Yeah.
everything. In that, it's just these POV shots of him looking at whatever is around him, and then his eyes close, and that's it. There's that, you get the humanizing comes from those elements, to me at least.
Even like I was thinking about where does this treatment, this broad treatment of the hero work, and it's really peak career Ajay Devgan in Bhagat Singh.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable now to think back to that time and compare
Yeah.
him to the actor he is now.
Yeah.
But that movie is doing the masala Hindi film, and it is doing the life of a revolutionary. I disagree with people who say it flattens out his politics. No, he says Marxist as many times as you can say it in a Hindi film so that people will understand it. He's very committed to the idea of this pluralistic India. And it goes with the whole Rahman score, with the way K.V. Anand is moving the camera. It goes with that. I think over here you need to then figure out what your film is trying to do eventually.
Yeah, I mean, Arjun has a question, and I think it's worth contending with, which is, but the dramatic possibility to represent good on screen is thin, right? Which could we think of examples where they shot? I mean, I would say Shahid is one of them, definitely. Arjun, Hansal Mehta Shahid, from whatever I remember, I know that film commits to a sort of. It's not about Shahid being bad or good. It's about him being human, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Which he
Yeah.
comes across both in performance and in character. So that would be my first sort of example.
Agastya
and
Nanda in Ikkis.
Ikkis, I would say. Yeah,
He's
that's
a
good
boy.
example.
He's breaking up with his girlfriend over something very sort of basic and
Yeah.
almost perfunctory, and he's flawed for that, and he's told off for it, and he rats on a friend, and he's sort of put in a form of Coventry for that. So he is flawed. He's a kid who charges into battle because that's all he's dreamed of in those 13 days of war.
Yeah, and I think the other side of the narrative sort of has a mournful edge to it, which sort of
Yes.
very much contextualize it as much as a loss as it. I mean, of course, the heroism is there from
Yeah, but
one
the
party it
heroism
is
does
there.
not override the loss.
That's the whole thing. I think
Yeah.
that's the big thing.
Hansal Mehta made Scam 92, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that is again very pulpy, but Harshad Mehta's life is one of extreme struggle the highs of success, and then the crippling crash of, having swindled people effectively.
No, but I think
He's not a good person, right? So I suppose
No,
that
I
becomes
guess,
a flaw.
because he's not a hero. Na? He's like a.
I mean,
I've
people
got a
do
lot of
treat him
comments,
like
I'll
one.
Get to that.
Yeah. Let's get into some of
but,
those if you want to.
Sure. Yeah. So Sham, who is, hi Sham, how are you? Please don't edit us. The film has been through years of delays. Sorry, I have to put this up. And it's been pulled off every platform. Yeah. So I want to ask the panel: shouldn't censorship or it shouldn't happen at all? Sorry, Sham. Like that's.
I mean,
very much
you'll
my
get
thing.
different answers, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will.
Mine would be certification is fine. It happens across the world.
Certification is fine. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Censorship is not. Yeah.
No, definitely nobody should have to show their script to a censor person ever.
I mean, I think what
Because-
Sham is coming at it is the sort of
No,
production
yeah.
cost and sort of,
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I get that there are certain subjects that are gelignite in the country. Religion is one of them, for instance. History also tends to be a subject like that.
Yeah.
I still don't think there should be. I will agree with the idea that you can tell a filmmaker to cut their film for certain reasons, and those reasons alone, sex, violence, language, if they want
I mean,
a certain
animal cruelty
rating,
and all that is there, no? I think there's that.
no, if
all
they
that
want a certain
mandate of-
rating, and no,
Yeah.
animal
Yeah.
cruelty is more an ethical thing and
Sure.
a legal requirement.
Yeah.
And you do require censorship to make sure like a film doesn't sort of preach hatred. Ideally, preach hatred. Nowadays, that's a facet that is to be lauded, of course.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sort of foment riots or whatever in the country, which happened last year, right? With Chhawa, there were riots.
I mean,
in
to
parts
be
of India.
fair to also to sort of the other side of the thing, Satluj in its own right is propagandist also. In
Of course it
whatever
is,
it's in.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
It
just
is.
to
I
make
mean,
it
its
very-
flattening
yeah.
of Khalra is that, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is turning a man who believed in maybe Khalistan, who was forget the membership of the Akali Dal. Every third idiot in Punjab has probably been a member of the Akali Dal. And the ones that have not and that are idiots have gone and joined either the Congress or the AAP or whatever. So, the point is that he's a man of certain beliefs. When you are arguing for him, you have to put those beliefs in front of people.
Yeah.
And leave it to people, because you're avoiding that discussion, right? When you try to avoid the fact that he may have said something positive about Bindranwale, who's either reviled or revered depending on where you are in the country and who you are as a person. I'm completely willing to buy the argument that he was a product of his time, that the 84 anti-Sikh pogroms did push people into the arms of Khalistan and terrorism and all those things. So it would have been perfectly rational or
I mean, you can
understandable for him
narrativize
to
it
be
also.
it would have been normal for him to be a sympathizer.
Yeah.
It would not have been normal for him to be an overground worker, which he likely wasn't.
Yeah.
But those are things that Trehan should then trust the audience to wrestle with.
Or
boy,
even
you
if it's not just that it's not addressed that, but also that his character is papered over then into this perfectly apolitical human I believe in people's rights and it's not a political matter kind of or like almost above moral or above such kind of consideration figure who is this idealized epitome. I think that it dehumanizes him in the fact of its deification, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I was about to
then
say
you
the
are-
irony of revealing the truth is constructing a character, right? In this,
Exactly.
in this film, yeah. So yeah,
So it's that your lack of being able to tackle difficult subjects is one thing. You plastering them over or whitewashing them into this messianic figure is another level, I think, of egregiousness, which feeds into the kind of propagandistic nature of the film.
Also, because this is not as simplistic a matter as Sam Bahadur, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Because that was a man who had only served in the army. He never became a politician. There was none of that to his life.
Yeah.
So even when you went the bland way, it ended up being a bad movie. But that was the worst it could be.
yeah,
It was never going to be dishonest, effectively.
Yeah.
Over here, because you don't want to, and that's Trehan and his writers and his team, they don't want to wrestle with the idea. They also, then leave themselves exposed to people who then come at them with Khalra was a Khalistani. So, then you can't turn around and say, no, but he was just a human rights activist, when the public record is evident. Like, I think Baz is the website on which a speech of his has been reproduced, or a write-up of his has been reproduced, in which he calls Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale a sant. And people have tried to rationalize it. I'm like, but if Trehan had gone with that in his film, people wouldn't be having to backpedal and defend him like this right now.
I also think, Varun, this is also a matter of, and this is where I'll bring my highest brow reference, I suppose, which is very much a personal preference for an approach one takes to history and depiction of history, which you've heard me say this hundreds of times. So there's
sure
no problem in me. Yeah, this is the Shoah thing, essentially, again, where it begins with very specific, and through the specific, it sort of tries to capture the big thing. Right, that's the whole approach that takes, or tries to take at least, in my opinion. And the whole idea is that it's not so much seeking to create reality or recreate reality. It's trying to remember it as closely as possible, and it's doing that simply by listening to people talk about it. And I think one of the interesting things, and which is why I said which is the character which I've forgotten his name, is played by Jagjit Sandhu again, which you have an issue with. What's his name? The last Kuljit. So which is why I think Kuljit's character is a very interesting locus point to enter the film through, because he's a person
course, that's what I would have come to eventually.
The film doesn't afford that POV and use that to sort of navigate the spaces, is a different thing, because
he's the Ikka in the pack.
Yes, exactly.
Instead, if it
he's
had
the
said
killers
that
of the flower moon ka jo bhi you want to do in some ways.
If he has spent those 2 days in Jaswant's company, you frame the film through that.
Yeah.
Because why else is he having this sort of moment in the last 20 minutes? You can't convince me. Not with the level of writing that's happening here, certainly.
Because it's the courtroom moment happens, and then the next scene is him having this guilt, paranoia. I'm like, how are we going into his subjectivity? This is not a film about subjectivity only.
No.
I'm like, this is a film about big things. Why is this going straight into the subconscious of this person? I'm like, no, this all doesn't fit here. Like, it feels very awkward in the way it's presented, is my problem.
I mean, there are a couple of things that I do want to speak about the film, commend the film for.
Yes.
Is that it's very clear in its motivation to make to place the excesses of the police in a certain time and space as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the Arjun Rampal character works. I'm not.
He's a composite?
Believer. Yeah, he's a composite. I couldn't find a Samudra Singh anywhere, or like anybody named similarly. Like, I don't know, Samundar Singh.
Also very patchily used voiceover. I'm like, if you're going to stick.
I mean, I think it's one of the editing. It's one of the editing choices also, because it reaffirms Satluj so many times. I think when the film was retitled is when they went and changed it.
This is one of those like very, very post-production things.
Because the film has been called multiple things. It's been called Punjab 95. It's been called Ghalluhada. Which is Massacre in Punjabi. And then finally they've arrived at Satluj. Funnily enough, the canal out of which they are pulling out bodies, many years later, about 10 years later, I have seen people pulling gajar out of the same canal. They were washing gajar, because that's the Indira Gandhi canal that goes into Rajasthan. Feeds the water supply of Rajasthan. They mention it.
ना वहाँ पे bodies मिल रही हैं. नहीं, but I mean, I think that moment itself is moving without the sort of not in this film though. That's the only thing. I think the idea of the guilty sort of thing coming back to someone and sort of talking.
If he had been the character through whom through whom they remember Jaswant.
Which Amar Singh Chamkila tried to do a little bit.
I think it still succeeded with those 4 or 5 characters that it was using. It still succeeded in a broader way.
But it
also
does the same
Chamkila is not.
At least it commits to it more, right? Even if you say succeeded or not, that there's that difference.
I mean, sure.
Yeah,
framing is there. I think the framing is there. Yahan pe it's supposed to be the 360 degree thing.
No, the thing is here, the switch is so jarring. It's like, you had a certain language of the film, and then suddenly, because you need to wrap it up neatly, you get this you now get this, you go from this like sprawling, sort of, distanced view to now, you're psychologically exploring this character's guilt, and then you get this the spirit of Khalra, and it suddenly again, that's what I'm saying, that's where the dramatics really, like, kick
This
into
is
high gear
the
and become very
this.
obvious.
I remember even Chris, if you remember, in Assi there is this issue of poetics ka use in this extremely supposed to be gritty, real thing, and then they're just in the courtroom, they're arguing about the poetics of justice. I'm like, excuse me, like,
Yeah, and
sorry,
there's
you're
that cop
exploring a
who
case
does
here.
cop who does poetry in the middle of the courtroom trial and all of those
I
things,
mean,
right? He's like
I mean,
citing
in this they
poetry as
have
an
they have a similar cop, right, who does a nursery rhyme before he murders people.
That's a different thing. That's though
no, that's a
supposed to be
different
your
thing.
that's a
But
tick.
exactly right.
That's a
How do
Bollywood tick.
you
Sorry, it
how
is
do
a
you
sort of
no,
flavorful
apparently
tick.
it's
Yeah.
taken from an actual police officer
Or
in Punjab.
and is this and please, I don't know if this is taken from the real transcript or something or not, but another moment that like really struck sorry, what are you saying, Sanjeet is here. Get well soon, Sanjeet. DKG to Anubhav Sinhai.
That's a Sharat Saxena reference in a film in an episode about
No,
Jaswant
okay,
Khalra.
we talked about Assi. I was more praiseworthy of it than Chris, by the way, just to flag that up.
At least
No, I
Sanjeev is
agree
watching us
with
now.
you
We
guys.
know.
No, but I think that this the grammar is a bit of an issue here. I think is the bigger problem. But the grammar is fine when, like, in its own, the grammar is fine. The arrangement of the different filmic grammars in this entire thing is odd.
Like a mosaic,
Is the
yeah.
point.
It doesn't
You
necessarily.
can go mosaic also if you want to do POV.
Yeah, but then you need to be committed to that, no?
नहीं है
No,
ना
I think
वो-
it's that there's moments where the two align, and then there's the moments where the dissonance is extremely visible. Like you said, right? Like the open. I think the opening is quite strong. From the opening, the cop thing to Khalra up to him becoming an activist. I think that is where
Sure.
the two
Yeah.
mediums are very much in sync, where you can get the kind of heightened evil of the police with the kind of dramatics of the situation. You can get the grief of all these
I
characters
think
with the
yeah,
human
it's
drama.
it's the most
It's
character-driven stuff also. No, in that sense.
also absolutely.
Yeah,
And
because you
the-
get
no,
that
the
whole
moment-
Saurabh Sachdeva character as well, Satnam coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
You have that interaction playing.
His
out.
arc is also so quickly wrapped up,
And he just
again,
disappears.
He disappears.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Not disappears, he dies, but like it's
yeah, but
too
the way
convenient at
it's-
that point.
It's closed off and forgotten, like it's shipped off basically after a point. And I think that's where you see, right? Like the once Khalra's activism starts proper,
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
becomes this quote unquote political drama, which is all about these objective looks at all the things that happen. That's when the kind of you really see that formal and narrative dissonance, because your storytelling cannot accommodate for the complexity of what objectively Khalra was doing versus what
Yeah.
objectively the cops were doing. Therefore, you see this really or what do you call it, really clean, very simple idea of his agenda versus their agenda, and his motivations versus their motivations, and then the way the film is conveyed, and that you see that it properly kind of veer in opposite directions, and then sometimes it comes back again and it sometimes veers off, and I think that conflict is constantly there.
Yeah, like I think it's very dramatic when it comes to Suvinder Vicky's character, right?
That's
like,
the-
he's
yeah.
he's the whole Hans Landa thing is happening with him and
Yeah.
with Saurabh Sachdeva, the Sag, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, exactly.
the mother
He's very
from
good,
from
by the way,
Three-
Suvinder
he's
Vicky.
great.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
really menacing.
Yeah, he's scary.
And it's
like he's
it feels properly menacing. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's a. I did actually feel like, you know what, you can compare it to Christoph Waltz if you like.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
that menace is captured
Menace is
really
there.
well.
Even
It's-
and then the defeatism, even though it's truncated, it's also
I mean,
think
but
captured
you know,
well
even
from his point
even
of view.
those bits of villainy for me
Huh.
don't work for one reason. That Bollywood thing of villain drink pee raha hai.
Huh.
I'm
Okay.
like even
Very
that
tropey.
musing
Yeah.
image of Kamaljeet in front of the sort of mirrors,
Uh-huh.
and he's
Yeah.
got a drink in his hand. I'm like, really? You've presented him as a very different police officer so far. You know,
Yeah.
this idea that he's menacing is an afterthought. The menace comes from Suvinder Vicky, and that's why I think there's a great bit of window dressing, if you want to call it that. So the top cop, the DGP, is IPS Bitta, He's supposed to be Inderpal Singh Bitta.
Yeah.
But the use of IPS is obviously clear. It's that there were the so-called superior police functionaries who are arms of Delhi, if you want to call them that. And the man on whom Bitta is based had a degree in English literature.
Yeah.
You know, he was well read. He came from an upper middle class household at the very least. He'd also, I think, kicked a protester to death in Assam or somewhere. So it's that menace comes in different forms, and menace from KPS Gill came in this form.
Yeah.
And then you cut to Suga, who's SS Suga. SS is short for Schutzstaffel, if anybody's interested.
No,
the
please
Nazi
do say,
organization.
please, yes.
So, you know, it's going into those, like, it's
I mean, so they
nifty
literally
touches, but
went
really...
to,
come on, like, if you want to go into the police
it's
state
good.
thing, then the Gestapo is and the SS are the best sort of
of course.
hallmarks of that, right? Like, if you look at the disappeared bodies, it's not like bodies didn't disappear anywhere else in the country. But for instance, in Kashmir, people usually found their disappeared relatives because somebody would come and tell them, अच्छा वो बारामूला के वहाँ पर वो कब्रिस्तान है, वहाँ मिल जाएगा आपको. And I think up until the mid-90s, some 8,000 people all over Kashmir had disappeared. But Kashmir is a massive division. Punjab is a much smaller state. And in Kashmir, the dynamics were very different. Because what happened in Kashmir after a point, for instance, and of course we can thank the damned Americans for this, is that foreign fighters started entering the area. So foreign terrorists. Earlier you could have still said, and the earlier dictum of a lot of senior army officers as well in Kashmir was, these are our children, because they were young men and young boys from the valley of Kashmir. Once it was foreign fighters, then it becomes, a proper brawl.
They do have a sort of... They try to use that rhetoric here, no? The police does at one point, कि ये लोग like
human rights
वालों का foreigners से
but in Kashmir the involvement was direct because there were actual terror organizations operating in Pakistan and Afghanistan, whereas Pakistan could have, you can say that somebody could dress up as a Khalistani, but that would be it really, it would require them to give up their faith to dress as a Khalistani, if you get the drift. So the whole complexity therein is different, but I think the film again lapses into those moments of trying to seek out a broader connect to. I don't think there are easy ways of depicting these things, so the best way for a film is to wrestle with the complexity and not try and
do everything. That's the whole.
इसके हाथ में whiskey है तो ये villain है. इसके
but I think but I think what I was saying was that
I'm not saying that just because I like drinking whiskey.
तो खुद को विलन बना रहे हो क्या? नहीं, but
मेरी
लाइफ के हो तो वो अलग बात है, but असली में तो ऑब्जेक्टिवली विलन तो नहीं हो ना.
No, I don't think so, not yet.
So Suvinder, I think what I was saying was that Suvinder Vicky, even in those scenes, has, I think I've seen him only in Kora, in which he's also terrific. And he's the lead in that, the first season. But in this also, there's that weariness for him, and I think that shows through in those scenes also. And I thought, he's the other locus point, which is very interesting because he's the middleman, crushed from one end and sort of.
Samudra Singh tells him, right? The Bada Saabs will get away, the younger guys will get. Nobody to save you, basically.
But
even I think Kamaljeet's casting is supposed to be a nod to Marches, for instance, right? In which he played a cop. So I can get that. I even like him in the role because he's able to do the whole, upper crustness of it. Yeah. I think, again, having
like
him...
Arjun Rampal, you said.
Not much.
Okay.
Having him so much in the film, having Kamaljeet so much in the film, while trying to maintain the idea that the DGP kept his distance from the matter, is working at cross purposes.
Sure. Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need to show the DGP so many times. You don't need to show the Chief Minister, Beyant Singh.
I mean, he could be the voice
Anant
that
Singh.
Sort of hovers over it, essentially.
Yeah, he could be a voice on a telephone line.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, that's something the film... Because if you don't... I get Trehan's problem, right? If he doesn't name him, people are like, oh, you're scared of the legacy of Gill.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean... which is what has come to bite him, at least from parts of the left that don't lean that far out, are that Gil was a righteous man and this, that, and the other. And of course, when the person leading that pack is his nephew who looks also like him, I think there's a certain conflict of interest that's obvious for anybody with two eyes and half a brain to see and understand. So, but there needs to be better workarounds to these things eventually. You can't say, I just wanted to make it eventually, so I made it this way. Flawed and whatever.
Very hard.
It's not a movie breaking flaw. I think the film is immensely
I think
watchable.
most of the flaws we mentioned aren't movie breaking. They are
Nothing is
distancing more
movie
than
breaking.
anything else.
Yes.
I think.
I think if anything, the three of us present the idea that the film can be liked, but it has flaws, whereas a larger portion of even the professional critics have gone all out and said greatest
and
film,
it's
greatest
understandable
film
just
and
because
fine.
also of the context surrounding its release also.
They're responding to a certain sort of moment of crisis within their own sort of professional world, where this is a film that finally wrestles with, in whatever way, in however limited a way, it wrestles with another story as opposed to going for the same old fodder. Does it do it well or not? I mean, there was one question I did want to bring up.
Sure.
Dhruv is not going to appreciate this. I can guarantee.
Okay.
But with the release of the film, and what Diljit said about it, first he said, "I am an artist. Don't ask me." There are no politics in artistry. Then he is making movies about Chamkila and Khalra.
मैं वापस आऊंगा. Also, he teaches us partition.
He's contributing to the soundtrack of Dhurandhar. Are we really still going to be taken in? Yeah, I mean, Arjun Rampal and Suvinder Vicky are in Dhurandhar. So
Arjun Rampal to is must ekdam villain in one, hero in the other.
Suvinder Vicky is villain in both.
So, he's also in Dhurandhar.
He's Arjun Rampal's dad in Dhurandhar.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
I'm curious as to what you guys make of this, that actors are so determined to be apolitical. I think they are not capable of being political. After this film especially.
No, I think it's opportunism at the end of the day, right? They want to save their own careers and their own interests.
Especially Arjun Rampal.
Yeah,
I mean, he is saved after this.
I'm sorry, that's
after Dhurandhar, तो it's saved only, sir, properly. So
वही करेगा sir अगले 20 साल वो.
Yeah, and that lies in, as you always say, being a thali ka bengan, where you are you find the opportunity, you go there, you suck up there, you go to the other. I think it is extremely valid for the audience to be appalled by it and disgusted by it.
I mean, we are also appalled by Rajkumar Rao, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I think you guys are also overreacting. But I also think that people's attachment to celebrities is just
I'm not talking about the attachment. I'm saying, what does it say about the state of political cinema in India, for instance, when they want to work in political films, then claim to have no politics at all?
Sir, it's not about any attachment either. Public figures are public figures, and you expect normal human beings who public figures happen to be.
Not normal human beings. People have made them into what they have, like in terms of
people
they don't.
Made
how
them
can they
doesn't
behave
change
like
the fact
behaviors?
that they are still human beings, and you expect human beings to have principles and a spine, especially when they have a platform, and in a country where that platform can be weaponized in many ways in fraught political conditions. So I think it is to me. Again, we have a disagreement here. I am someone who follows celebrity culture. I am someone who I'm not enamored by it particularly, and I hold my distance and my
nonsense, Chris.
I am saying in the fact that it doesn't hold a sway on me. I'm saying I enjoy it, but I'm not someone who will agree with something. No, sir. I hate his. I'm a very open hater of his films. I will not unabashedly say all of his films are great just because I like him.
I just watched them multiple times.
Yeah, I watched them multiple times despite the fact they're bad, and I openly admit to them being bad.
Fine, sorry. Go ahead.
My point is that I am someone who actively follows celebrity culture, and you see the influence that these celebrities have on public discourse and how and again the responsibility.
Dosan certainly over here at least.
Yeah, Definitely. Again, a responsibility is a different matter. I think it's basic human decency, what you expect of an individual in the public eye. I think it's very important to have that kind of skepticism towards these figures and not just kind of dismiss it as obviously they're going to be like this. I think it's important to call them out at their double standards, at their opportunism, because that influences how people perceive them, people perceive their art, people consume media around them. So it's they are like that, that's a different matter, but it's also important to acknowledge their double standards and the way that they behave in the public.
Yeah,
is
because
all I'm saying.
that's what I'm sort of trying to contend with, is that you want to make political cinema and get the points you will get for making it, right? So the whole thing is, Diljit is such a brave artist. I'm like, no, he's a fuddu only, like everybody else. Like, he's a coward
It's
most
the
of the
same,
time.
No, it's the same with that. मैं वापस आऊँगा at that idiotic debate. क्या कमाल है is this revolutionary? I'm like, no, it's
It's the
tonally
most
deaf.
tasteless thing. It's
Like it's
tasteless,
not
straight up.
just mentioning the fact that the world events are happening and we are making a film with gesture towards them doesn't mean that
No,
you're
again,
politically conscious or politically
yeah, the
caring
image
even.
of Diljit Dosanjh, the celebrity that he is, singing ruefully in a set that's falling apart. Ala, like again, I love this. Ala, welcome.
Yeah, it's
and
literally
and
the
then
song is happening, bombs
Yeah.
are
and then you
falling on the set, and that's
and then you
intercut with
and it's
actual
not
bombs.
only intercut, it's superimposed. You have
This I haven't, I've
images
forgotten, I
of
think.
atrocities being superimposed on top of Diljit's mournful singing into the camera. That is just taste. That's not political awareness. That is opportunism on Ali's
So
and
my
on Dosanjh's part.
my point is, I will critique it if it happens in the film. That is my stance. I don't give a damn about what they
I
speak
mean,
otherwise.
that's also what I'm saying, right? I
Huh.
don't particularly care whether they speak
Huh.
outside of this film or not. I care about the fact that they are seeking to benefit from being involved in politically enlightened projects of whatever kind.
मुझे तो
Again,
celebrity से ही
that
problem है, I think, at this
yeah,
point.
again, that's a
आपको तो
different
लोगों
so
से ही
you
प्रॉब्लम
can
है
have
सर.
a
You are
वो
शाहरुख
भी
फ्रॉम
है,
गैंग.
वो भी
sir,
है.
you can have
मुझे
a
लोग ही
problem
पसंद
with
है.
it.
Hey, come on.
Wi-
I'm not that chauvinistic.
No, but this
Yet.
but when we are talking
Yet.
about a film and discourse
Huh.
and things outside the text, right? Like
Yeah.
our discussion is not restricted to the text just because we are talking about a film in the context
I
of
mean,
the years that it was suppressed and the cuts that it had, etc., etc. We are going into the paratext, and that paratext
yes.
includes the statements of the actors, their personalities, how they are perceived by the environment, and like so. My point is just that the acknowledgement is necessary. I think hand washing, especially as people who are engaging with the text, is allowing or doing allowing them to go to go scot free with such behavior, which I don't think is good, especially as people who are publicly conscious about the situation around the film or trying to bring public consciousness.
Listen, we can happily do live streams every month end where we can discuss all this. I mean, we might end up actually doing all this with people who are like, again, Chris is much more tuned into all this. Varun is
No,
also
no, no.
more tuned
I'm
into it
also
than I
I'm
am.
only asking about it from the
This, na.
perspective of it does inform how we see their films. Ultimately, I'm not going to claim that uh, just as I thought Vicky Kaushal was admirable for tackling a Sardar Udham,
Yeah.
I'm also going to judge him for then making the broader sort of same old
So why will you judge him?
choices
यार?
that he-
Career है उसका.
No, so I mean, ठीक है ना, I'm a paying consumer. I'm not taking him to
Well,
consumer court over it.
you choose not to, like it's like
Yeah.
my disassociation with like an actor, or like my this thing with an actor like Vikrant Massey. Like I am not interested in his work anymore because of like similar with Vicky Kaushal and a lot
ऐसे
of
मैं
these
नहीं कर
actors.
सकता. I'm sorry. That is
So
a very.
again,
No. We're not
that's
saying somebody
Huh.
has to do it. It's obvious.
I
it's
know,
so
a
I
listen,
know.
we talk about
choice.
our personal stances,
I
right?
get
Like,
it, I
and
get
I
it.
can agree that it's a double standard. I have financially supported and gone to the films of people I know are known abusers or people who have extremely questionable things about them.
Who are these
I
people?
watched, for example, F1 twice in the
Brad
theater,
Pitt,
which is
right.
Brad Pitt is a known domestic abuse or has known allegations of
Apple.
domestic abuse against him, and Apple. So so it is hypocritical. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
of course.
saying
Checking,
that
is
that
StreamYard
one
not
is
owned by Apple or something?
no, there's I'm not saying that I have a certain ideological purity when it comes to engaging with these things, but to me that acknowledgement makes a difference. Like I think in whatever it makes to me personally, knowing the fact or acknowledging the fact that these people behave in such ways, but I still choose to
Fair.
engage with this art for
Sure.
XYZ reason. And there's certain kinds of art, like for example, I will not engage with say anything that JK Rowling makes because I
Yeah.
have a personal stake in her politics.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if another kind of politic where maybe again I don't have a personal investment in, I may not. So it is a double standard. I'm acknowledging that, but I still think, especially in our social context and the influence that these actors have, acknowledging it and calling it out is still important, even if you choose to say, oh, that's just how they are.
Yeah, even if it has no value to it, like, I want to be able to measure the idea of how much am I going to laud a person for doing a film like Satluj,
Yeah.
I
basis
mean, but
what
what if the
else they
performance
do.
is good in it?
Sure, but I'm not looking at a film as I'm not the Bharadwaj Rangan film viewer, which is the
Yeah,
film is
but
the
like,
film and that is all there
of
is.
course it is. Of course, that's not the case. But I'm saying that. Okay, it's complicated, I suppose. Wherever you go with
And it's
this,
also
there's
deeply
no like.
personal, sir. I'm saying
Yeah,
that
it is
if it's
that
not for you,
undoubtedly.
that's fine. None of
Yeah,
us are, there is no judgment here on this is the right way you should
fair,
feel
fair,
about
fair. I
these
get it.
things.
I
It's
get
just,
it. Yeah.
again, for me, someone who engages with celebrity culture, with discourse as an active part of the film viewing experience. That,
Yeah.
I am someone who sees tweets about a film after it has come out, who engages with whatever discourse of it happens on different social media websites. To me, it colors how I experience cinema, and
Fair.
you
And मैं तो
don't.
ये सब देखता
And
ही
it
नहीं हूँ, so yeah,
so
so which is the
that
other
so
thing.
that's
Yeah.
the point, right? So
Yeah.
it is a deeply personal thing to do, and to me, in my deeply personal perspective, that acknowledgement is necessary, and it's a part
Fair.
of,
Right.
Fair.
to me,
Sure.
ethically or just the right way of engaging with cinema for me, as simple
Sure.
as that. And it need not be for anyone else, but that is, like Varun said, that even asking that question to me simply of does it matter or not is of value, than just not acknowledging at all and being like, oh,
Sure.
they'll just be who they are.
Yeah, like nothing we are saying here is going to change anything. We're not looking to change
Yeah.
people's views about either the film or the people involved. Like, all of that
Yeah.
is has its own place for each individual.
Yeah.
Right. I just think it's worth contending with a couple
I mean,
of
again,
ideas like
it's
this.
fair. I think I would maybe even think about this idea more for directors because I guess I'm more invested in.
I mean,
that
but
than
directors at least. I mean, we are calling out Honey, right? I mean, it's not like we've spared him or anything
I
in
mean,
that sense. Spared
yeah,
him
but
we've
the
praised him
filmic
enough as well. I
sense,
think.
yeah. No,
No,
we criticize more, but that's probably
Sure,
more
but
because
the film has been lauded already, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but do we
And
want
we
to like
don't-
just do a
again-
quick bit of final
हाँ,
thoughts
बोल.
or something? Sorry, Dhruv, you were saying.
Final thoughts तो हो ही चुके हैं ना, I think.
Fair enough. Okay then.
Or do you want us to
we're
be
at
like
92.
very like
We can do like a
one-liners?
formal, yeah, like in case people skip right to the end, I suppose.
Okay, why would you do that?
I don't know. People don't want to
yeah.
listen to us for 90 minutes. They're like 2 minutes is good. 90 is too many.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just watched it, so maybe if it sort of let it marinate in my head for some time, maybe it sort of forms into something which I probably like more. I appreciate it, but I think my issues with it are very in the how Trehan has decided to make the film as opposed to what he's made it. And I think in the how there are fair amounts of inconsistencies for me to be bothered by, which is my main thing. And the other thing I think more important as a caveat is it's very much going for a sort of broad templated dissident cinema which I don't click with in general. So I'm happy that it's like appealing to a lot of people and great for them and like great, and there are many virtues in it, performances, some of them we've talked about, the atmosphere also. I mean, some of the atmospherics in how it's created is quite effective, I think. But yeah, I mean, I have my favorite dissident cinema of this kind is Jafar Panahi's, and I'm very much spoilt by that. How high quality, what the quality of that work. So yeah, I'm coming at it from that point of view. Yeah.
I
Chris?
mean,
Chris?
yeah, for me, I think, and I wrote this also. Satluj is an important film, but I'm not sure of how great it is. Is kind of my perspective going into it. It's just that I have lauded its formal you know, qualities. I think it is a well-made film in a lot of ways. I mean,
Yeah.
I have some like minor grievances, like the lighting is bad, so it's like it's too dark to see for
The
the
Yeah.
most
first the
part.
first 40 minutes of the film are definitely quite dodgy in that sense. I'd
Yeah,
agree.
like
Sorry, go ahead.
minor nitpicks
Hmm.
like that, but I think I don't necessarily doubt Trehan's conviction.
Neither do.
I don't
No.
no, neither do you guys. I mean, his understandable intentionality that that politically we may, lean towards in the general messaging of the film, condemnation of extrajudicial violence, of police violence, of cover-ups, etc., etc.
Hmm.
But I think it is, especially when a film is lauded this much, I think it is especially important for those who see the flaws in it to engage with it in an extra level of skepticism, in that even a film that agrees with you has the capability of misleading you,
Of course.
and
Yeah.
misleading you even unintentionally, right? The
Yeah.
director may
Yeah.
not have meant to mislead you, the film nobody on the crew or the cast may have meant to mislead you, but the
Yeah.
product of all of these forces may have led to something that creates a distorted image in your head. And if you
Yes.
feel that distortion, it's important to engage with it, and I think that is the
Yeah.
most important part of this whole exercise. And
Great,
that is
Chris.
what to
Great
me makes Satluj
justification for our
also,
episode.
yeah, and that's what makes to me Satluj also an interesting film, right?
That's
Like,
what I was about
more
to
than
say. Yeah.
just being a great film that we are just praising unequivocally, or a bad film that is has poor intentions, etc., etc. That it
Yeah.
is
We've
contending with social
slammed that
forces
also.
both
Don't
in and
worry.
out. Yeah, both inside and outside the text. The fact that it
Yeah.
is a product of a very specific point in time, as we said Khalra was, is what
Yeah.
makes the film worth engaging with at this
Yeah.
kind of level that we are.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously similar thoughts, but I think it's time we started demanding more complexity of filmmakers capable of it.
Yeah.
This is in that sense at least a missed opportunity from Hani Zehan, especially because I think his first feature is complex, even though of course it's got the ease of
Raat Ke
fiction
Liye.
about it. Raat Ke Liye
Yeah.
is dealing with complex themes too. I think this is interesting in that much of it agrees with me politically, but I am also at odds with it a lot politically. Probably more at odds with it than I am in agreement with it, which is good, even if it comes from my side of the political aisle,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, left of center, obviously.
Yeah.
And I found it engaging. I found it willing to sort of at least talk about something that needs to be talked
course.
about more, and it's
Yeah.
sincere. It's
It is.
it's you want a filmmaker to be sincere, and we've lauded other filmmakers whose films we've not even liked for that sincerity. So Trehan deserves that credit certainly, and
Yeah.
it's got people talking about the subject,
Yeah.
right? Like
Which is
people,
always good.
which is I mean, I think it's. I want more people to think about Punjab and about insurgency in the Northeast. Probably not from a cinematic perspective necessarily,
Sure.
because cinema is an easy way to be misinformed actually. And
Oh, yeah,
I've noticed a lot of people coming out of Hyder spectacularly misinformed on Kashmir, because Hyder is their port of call
Reference
for
point.
Kashmir, right?
Please
So
do
please
not
read
mistake
beyond
movies
it.
and reality.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
sorry,
even
yeah.
books are not necessarily all true, but
Archives
there are
ही
more
देखो
books
उसके.
out there than I mean, most wrongdoing is not archived, but
Okay.
I think there is more critical engagement in literature than there is in cinema.
Sure.
But cinema is a good way to get people to
I mean, it's a broader. It's got
into
that,
something more.
Exactly. And I
Yeah,
think
like
that's
so if
fair.
you're interested in Punjab after this, hopefully you will be, you can get into it, and please do watch Satluj in whatever way you can. Hani
Yeah, if
Trehan
you
does not
don't-
deserve to have
yeah.
his voice suppressed, and
Yes.
Jaswant Khalra, whether or not you agree with his politics, did not deserve his fate. The film on his life certainly
Yeah.
does not deserve to be pushed away into the background.
Exactly. And if you do want to watch it in different ways, you can contact us, or some of us, I guess.
Wonderful.
On Instagram, please, if anyone needs. But I think everyone, whoever's here, at least must have already watched it. or
Yeah, more
engaged with
people
it.
will watch it. Our live streams are have
Yeah.
people who come later and praise Chris and abuse the rest of us. So
No,
Praise
it's
Chris's
been no. I think the
voice.
film has also been Streisand affected to the moon and back. Right, that's been one of
Yeah.
the
What is
advantages of the whole.
Streisanded? Please explain.
The Streisand effect is basically when you try to shut something down, but it brings more attention to
Okay,
the
okay.
thing in
बट
as a
ये तो
consequence of
बेसिक
it.
डिमांड सप्लाई है, इतना तो गवर्नमेंट को पता होना चाहिए.
Sir, the Prime Minister has 3 days ago discovered reels. Okay, इतनी technologically advanced government नहीं है.
Can we
टेक्नोलॉजिकली
not
बात नहीं
please
कर रहा, मैं
please
तो
can
सप्लाई डिमांड की
can
बात
we
कर रहा.
not?
Chris needs to go and doom scroll on more reels.
I don't doom scroll on reels, sir.
No, sorry, you watched
Something
them
else. Yeah.
repeatedly.
Indeed.
Anyways, this was our seriousest live stream I think we've done
It was,
ever.
I think.
Most
Which is
somber.
commendable, I think. Yeah. Because
Case
next
was
from the
pretty
next-
serious, I think, as well.
Yeah,
Case was
but you were talking to an invisible cloak, no? That's why. And your parents were here.
And my
So,
parents were there. Yeah,
but from next episode onwards, we'll be back to, you know,
yeah we're
Usual
partly discussing
programming to
toxic and
nonsense.
DC. I don't think they deserve this seriousness. So it's fine.
Our Bollywood dramatics will come back out in the following live stream.
Yeah, in full flow, I think. But yeah, please, thank you for whoever tuned in. Thank you, Devolina, for joining
Yeah,
us,
thank
even
you.
though we've taken, 6 months off from live streaming. We will be more regular in a sort of monthly way now. That's
Yeah,
at least
at
the
least a
plan.
monthly way is the
Yeah.
plan. Yes,
And episodes galore, though. Lots of them are coming. If
they are planned
Sangeet
at the
is-
very least.
They are coming. I'm sorry. I have paid. So, no, they are coming.
You've paid for the marketing to happen, not paid for the
तो
episode.
मार्केटिंग अलग में क्या, मेरी मार्केटिंग नहीं करवानी मुझे. But
सर हमें करने के पैसे थोड़ी दिए हैं.
that's so rude. I mean, I'm relying on
उसने
you
हमसे
guys.
पैसे भी नहीं लिए हैं
मैंने लिए भी
marketing
नहीं
के,
है.
तो बोलो मत ये सब, ठीक है?
Anyways, no, I'm saying that the latest episode is the dishonorable year for Bollywood 2026, which includes a extended discussion on Assi and Main Wapas Aunga, and then Chris and me essentially just are running a tractor through the entire industry, apart from
Me,
two
you
Yamen
and me for an hour
and
straight,
Baby Die
basically.
Do. Baby Do Die Do,
Baby-
that's the title?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those are the only two
Yeah.
films apart from, and Ikkis, of course, apart from those two, which actually even those are the only three films we've liked. Apart from that, just avoid everything.
Yeah.
And Satluj, of course,
Haterism
we've watched.
galore, if that's your
Proper. If that's your
taste.
jam, then I think the person who wanted us to talk about the Ramayan trailer will find their
Rather,
fix in that in that
Definitely watch
second
the
half
film
of that
that
episode. Yes, but
But yeah,
next
Ramayan and all
episodes-
will also happen in due
Follow.
course.
Yeah, next
Denny
episode is
Villeneuve
Spider-Man. Denny Villeneuve
Spider-Man
retrospective is coming also,
is coming
etc.,
up.
etc. To the two people who are still there, please be excited about it, or at least fake it. I
Yeah.
guess. But hopefully, more people will stumble on this later on. But thank you everyone for being here.
And don't
Sorry,
abuse
I've-
us. We can't abuse back. Like some of us, our parents read the
can,
comments, so
No,
nahin,
no, we
I
can't
can't for that reason.
We'll do the respectably abused, like Lage Rao Munna Bhai, aka Bapu. What is it? Gandhigiri.
हाँ, Gandhigiri.
Yeah. Who am I asking? Why am I asking the Hirani hater?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Go
that's
watch
it.
Preetham and
Sorry,
Pedro, sir. We'll see you whether I'm still the one
apparently
who
it's very
reads
good. Apparently it's the most watched thing ever on Amazon. My
That
parents
doesn't
really
say
liked
anything.
it. which
Oh
also
yeah,
doesn't say
that
anything. Which also
That's the
doesn't
gold
say anything.
standard, no sir.
That is absolutely not. Anyways, I've taken over the hosting duties at the end, but Varun, you can please conclude this thing.
Yeah, that was our live stream on Satluj. We hope you enjoyed it. Please go watch the film. It deserves to be watched. That's it from Queen is Dead. Khatam, khatam, khatam.
That's only one khatam, but okay.
No, I did it multiple times because hello.
Varun's been